Hey, I'm Mia. Here I'm voice-overing the story for this video. But first, if you're new here, then don't forget to subscribe our channel. If you think in the end of this video is good, then please like the video, leave the comments below, and if you have any suggestion or feedback, then feel free to write there. Mr. Reynolds was the kind of teacher every student loved. He wore colorful ties, told funny jokes, and somehow made algebra feel like an adventure. For the kids at Westbrook Middle School, he wasn't just a math teacher. He was a mentor, a friend, and sometimes even a father figure. Ethan Parker, a quiet but observant 7th grader, admired Mr. Reynolds more than anyone. He often stayed after class to ask extra questions, not just about math, but life too. Mr. Reynolds always gave thoughtful answers. One afternoon, after helping Ethan with a tricky equation, Mr. Reynolds gave him a pat on the shoulder. "You've got a sharp mind, Ethan. Don't waste it." Ethan beamed. That moment would stay with him for a long time. To Ethan, school had always felt like a maze of noise and pressure. But Mr. Reynolds' class felt different. It was calm, colorful, and full of energy. Posters of math jokes lined the walls. There was a jar of peppermints on his desk, free to anyone who asked. And every Friday he played music while they did worksheets. Most of all, Mr. Reynolds saw Ethan. Not as a quiet kid in the back row, but as a thinker. That mattered more to Ethan than he could admit. His parents worked long hours. At home, he mostly did his own thing. Mr. Reynolds was one of the few adults who actually paid attention. Mr. Reynolds even recommended Ethan for the regional math team, saying he had the potential to lead. That was the first time anyone had believed in Ethan's potential outside of academics. It gave him confidence to join clubs and talk more with classmates. But this perfect picture was about to crack. One Thursday afternoon, Ethan forgot his lunchbox in class. He doubled back to grab it, jogging through the empty hallway. As he reached for the doorknob, he paused. The lights inside the classroom were dim, but there was movement. He opened the door quietly and stepped in. Mr. Reynolds was still there, hunched near the back wall, rummaging through the school supply cabinet. That wasn't strange until Ethan saw what he was doing. Mr. Reynolds was slipping small boxes of food, granola bars, cereal packs, bottles of water into a dark green duffel bag. Then came paper towels, travel-size shampoo bottles, even a roll of blankets. Ethan froze. His breath caught in his throat. Mr. Reynolds zipped up the bag, looked around like someone afraid of being caught, then quietly exited through the back hallway. Ethan stood alone in the dim room, heart pounding. He hadn't moved a muscle, as if he were made of stone. Was Mr. Reynolds stealing? The image haunted Ethan all the way home. The teacher he respected the most might be doing something very wrong. That night, Ethan couldn't sleep. He lay in bed staring at the ceiling, replaying the scene over and over again. The bag, the food, the blankets, the quick, silent exit. He knew what stealing looked like. He'd seen kids slip candy into their pockets at the corner store. Why would Mr. Reynolds take those things? He didn't look like he was stealing for himself. He wasn't stuffing his pockets or hiding like a criminal. But he definitely didn't want anyone to see him. Ethan saw the way he looked over his shoulder. Maybe it was for a school project or a food drive. Still, the secrecy haunted him. He thought about telling his parents. But what would he say? "Hey Mom, Dad, Mr. Reynolds was taking food from the school cabinets. I don't know why." No, that wasn't enough. He needed to be sure. The next morning, Ethan sat at his desk, barely hearing the lesson. Mr. Reynolds was his usual cheerful self, cracking jokes about parabolas. But to Ethan, something had shifted. Every smile felt like a mask. He didn't want to believe Mr. Reynolds was a thief. But what if he was? Ethan remembered when his friend Sam got caught with a vape in his locker. The whole school found out. Sam got suspended. His parents were furious. What would happen to Mr. Reynolds if Ethan told the wrong person? He needed the truth. By Monday, Ethan had made up his mind. He couldn't go on wondering. He needed answers. And if no one else was going to find them, he would. He started by asking small questions during lunch. "Hey, have you ever seen Mr. Reynolds stay late?" he asked Marcus, one of his classmates. Marcus shrugged. "Yeah, sometimes. I think he tutors some kids after school. Why?" "Just curious." Ethan forced a smile. That afternoon, Ethan pretended to have a question about the homework. He waited until the last of the students had filtered out, then approached Mr. Reynolds' desk. "Mr. Reynolds, could you show me how you did that last step?" "Of course." Mr. Reynolds leaned over his notebook and began explaining, but Ethan wasn't really listening. His eyes were on the duffel bag tucked under the desk, same dark green one from Thursday. After a few minutes, Mr. Reynolds glanced at the clock. "You should get going, Ethan. It's getting late." Ethan packed up slowly. "Okay, thanks." He walked down the hallway, heart pounding again, and hid behind a column near the exit. 5 minutes passed, then 10. Finally, Mr. Reynolds stepped out, duffel bag in hand. Ethan followed. He stayed back, keeping behind trees, parked cars, and the occasional street lamp. Mr. Reynolds didn't head for the parking lot. He walked past the main road, past the gas station, and toward the old neighborhood near the train tracks. After about 15 minutes, he turned a corner and entered a worn-down building with a rusted sign, Riverside Community Center. Ethan's heart pounded. He crossed the street, careful not to be seen, and approached a side window. It was dusty but gave him a clear view inside. What he saw made him gasp. Inside the community center, Mr. Reynolds knelt beside a group of people, men, women, and children. Their clothes were ragged, their eyes tired but grateful. A young girl clutched a blanket that Mr. Reynolds had just handed her. Ethan watched as Mr. Reynolds opened the duffel bag and passed out food. One by one, people lined up to receive what looked like their only meal for the night. Some sat on worn cushions or blankets, eating slowly. Others hugged Mr. Reynolds, tears in their eyes. There was no staff, no lights except a few flickering lamps, no security or cameras, just one man helping people who had nothing. This wasn't theft, it was kindness. Ethan stepped back, stunned. The teacher he thought might be a criminal was actually a hero in secret. He stayed hidden until Mr. Reynolds left, walking slowly in the opposite direction. He looked tired, not physically, but emotionally, like someone carrying a heavy burden. That night, Ethan wrote in his journal, "Today I saw what real kindness looks like. It's not always loud or praised. Sometimes it's quiet, hidden. But it matters more than anything." He stared at the entry for a long time before closing the book. Ethan walked into class the next day with a storm of thoughts. Mr. Reynolds smiled and greeted students as usual, but now Ethan saw it differently. He noticed the dark circles under his teacher's eyes, the careful way he moved, like someone carrying more weight than he could share. As Mr. Reynolds launched into a lesson about quadratic equations, Ethan watched his classmates laughing at his jokes, completely unaware of the man behind the desk. It struck Ethan how invisible people's struggles could be. At lunch, Ethan sat quietly, pushing his food around. He thought about what he'd seen at the center. The little girl clinging to the blanket, the tired eyes of the man who thanked Mr. Reynolds over and over. Was it right for Mr. Reynolds to take those supplies? Maybe not. But was it wrong? Ethan began doing research. He read about homelessness in their city. He learned that some shelters had shut down, that children were among the most vulnerable, that many people had jobs but couldn't afford housing. He realized the world wasn't black and white. Sometimes the rules didn't fit the reality. And Mr. Reynolds? He was doing something about it. Quietly, risking his job and reputation. The next day, Ethan did something brave. After school, he walked up to Mr. Reynolds, his heart pounding. "Mr. Reynolds," he said quietly, "can I talk to you?" "Alone?" Mr. Reynolds gave a concerned nod and ushered him into the classroom. "What's on your mind, Ethan?" Ethan took a deep breath. "I saw you at the community center. I followed you. I thought you were stealing. But now I know you weren't. I wanted to understand." Mr. Reynolds sat down, surprised but not angry. He looked at Ethan for a long time, then finally spoke. "I grew up not too far from there. My family had nothing. I remember cold nights, empty cupboards. I made a promise, if I ever got out, I'd help those still stuck." He paused, voice heavy. The school sometimes gets overstocked supplies. They're supposed to be discarded or sit unused. I just redirect them. It's not legal, but it feels right. Ethan nodded slowly. Why not tell someone or ask for help? Because not everyone understands, and people would rather follow rules than fix broken systems. They sat in silence. You're not going to tell anyone? Mr. Reynolds asked. No, Ethan said, but maybe I can help. Ethan kept his word. He didn't tell anyone, but he started helping. Every Friday, he'd stay late to clean the board or ask questions. In reality, he and Mr. Reynolds packed supplies, sorted donations, and created small bundles of essentials. Soon, other students quietly joined, kids Ethan trusted. Mia from Science Club, who volunteered at shelters. Jordan from chess team, whose cousin was once homeless. One by one, the secret team grew. They started collecting donations from families. Anonymous bins appeared around town. Even some teachers began contributing quietly without asking too many questions. They called it Project Lantern, a light in the dark. Word never spread publicly, but lives were changed. Nothing stays secret forever. One day, a substitute teacher spotted Ethan and Mia carrying a heavy box marked blankets. She reported it. Soon, the principal called Mr. Reynolds in. There were questions, whispers, investigations. Parents got involved. The school board met. Mr. Reynolds was suspended. The community center was raided by inspectors. Supplies were taken. For a moment, everything fell apart. But then something unexpected happened. People spoke up. Parents whose children had joined Project Lantern wrote letters. Community members who had received aid came forward. The mayor's office got hundreds of messages. A local journalist picked up the story. The teacher who gave without asking. 3 weeks later, Mr. Reynolds was reinstated. The school board decided not to punish him. Instead, they launched an official community outreach program inspired by Project Lantern. Mr. Reynolds became its director. Ethan was named student coordinator. At the year-end assembly, Mr. Reynolds gave a short speech. He didn't mention what had happened, but he ended with this. Sometimes the right thing isn't the easy thing. Sometimes the rules need to change, but what never changes is this: we all have something to give. The crowd erupted in applause. Later, Ethan stood beside Mr. Reynolds, watching as donations were loaded into a school van bound for the new community center. You were brave, you know, Mr. Reynolds said. Ethan smiled. I just followed the math. One person helping one more person, it adds up. And this time, Mr. Reynolds didn't just smile. He nodded, eyes shining.